signaling that leads to increased glucose uptake during exercise. AMP kinase has also been involved for many years, and it's been quite back and forth. And I know you don't think that it plays a role. And I know there are a lot of studies in knockout mice that show that if you knock out AMP kinase, you still have a normal glucose uptake in the mouse, in the muscles. But there are actually also a few studies that show that it's not completely normal. But it's
what about
quite
humans?
clear.
What about humans?
Yeah, that's right. So I know you've shown that if you're a well-trained subject, you can still take up a lot of glucose without seeing any activation of AMP kinase. So that's of course also talks or speaks against its role. But Jørgen Wojciechowski and Rasmus Købstedt have quite convincingly shown that at least it regulates glucose uptake following exercise, AMP kinase. So I don't know. My view is probably that it in most situations it may play a role during exercise, but it's not essential, and it can be substituted quite easily by other mechanisms. But I mean, it's you know, when you in a resting muscle, if you activate AMP kinase pharmacologically, glucose uptake goes up because there's GLUT4 translocation. So it would seem logical, and that's what we've been thinking for many years, that of course it's part of the mechanism. But I guess it's controversial, and I guess most of the findings suggest that it's not necessary, at least, but it it might contribute.
Well, it's been an interesting time, isn't it? I mean, we've been all trying to work this out for years, and years and years ago, I was talking to you about coming over and infusing nitric oxide synthase inhibitors during exercise and all sorts of things, and we were looking at AMPK, and I assumed AMPK as well. We did studies with, as you say, with ACAR, and it increases glucose uptake by activating AMPK, and if you have a knockout mouse, then you don't get the increase in glucose uptake with ACAR activating, because you can't activate AMPK, whatever. But yeah, it seems we were talking the other day in the corridor. Myself, you, Jan Wojciechowski. It's kind of weird because at one stage we were looking at nitric oxide, and you have an NOS knockout, and it's got normal glucose uptake during exercise. Then you have you think CAM kinase, and you have a CAM kinase knockout as normal glucose uptake during exercise. An AMPK knockout as normal. So as you say, sounds like it may be redundancy, yeah. But and the stuff that you mentioned, Carlos. So he was on podcast a few weeks ago. So that's really interesting stuff with the reactive oxygen species. Now you mentioned the